Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. So when I started Cardonomics, the idea came out of my love for trading cards and economics, hence the word Cardonomics. And I really wanted to sort of find out how I could intertwine the two together. And that entailed looking at different assets and charts and how I could see correlations between the two. So basically to see if what happened with one asset had an effect on the other. And today I'll use Bitcoin as an example and try and see, certain points in Bitcoin cycle, what it did to the price on particular cards in Pokemon. So it should be interesting. Again, experimental stuff. Before I get into the video, if you haven't joined the Cardonomics Facebook community, I will leave the link in the description. And we have just launched our Discord. There's currently a trial as we are early days, but we'd love to see you there to check it out. Some cool things going on there. So again, link in the description for that. So let's get into the video. So here I have the Bitcoin chart. I'm on a monthly here, which means every candle is 1 month. And next to it, I've selected a few cards to look at. So the first one is the PSA 9 first edition Charizard. So this is all the data that PSA has. And I use the PSA website because it goes all the way back to 2016. So I like having more data to work with, and that works well with the Bitcoin chart because we can go back to the 2017 cycle and see the correlation it had with this Charizard PSA 9. And we'll go through some other cards as well, but let's start on the Charizard 9, and I'm going to show you what I look at on the Bitcoin chart to see if there is correlation with Bitcoin's price action and the PSA 9 Charizard. So the first thing I want to point out is when I've marked here price discovery, that means when Bitcoin has entered a new all-time high from the previous one, which is here. So once that price here breaches this last high, that means we're in price discovery. And I've used that to see when this happens with Bitcoin, what is going on with the PSA 9 Charizard first edition. So if we go to the date here, we see that this is around April 2017. We can see the earliest data is around $1,500 USD for first edition PSA 9 Charizard. That's back in September 2016. So when we go to April, we're sitting around here and we can see already the price is going up. So when I look at price discovery, it's not when I believe that's going to initiate something on this, but that's when things get crazy. So we see the run up that Bitcoin had, and we start to see the price of this run up as well. So, and then you start to see it get crazy once we get into price discovery, which is what I wanted to point out. So that's a 217 cycle. And as we can see here, it peaked around, that's November 217. Then we see here, Bitcoin peaked around December 217. And then when it went through its bear market, we can see here, you'll see that it basically did nothing for a long time. It was just trading sideways basically. So yeah, you can see the correlation that, Bitcoin might have something to do with the price of this card at the time. It could be a coincidence, but if we keep looking, we'll see if it happens again. So, vintage was all the fuss. There was no, back here, there was no Sword and Shield. There was no Scarlet Violet. It was basically Sun and Moon here. And we didn't see that craze hype like we did in vintage at the time. So vintage was the thing here. And then we see again, I've just marked out the C19 crash here. I've marked out price discovery on this cycle. Now this is the 2021 cycle top. And here you will notice price discovery on this Bitcoin's next cycle happened around December 2020. And then you'll see here when things started to get a bit crazy was leading up to that. So again, you have that same when Bitcoin was about to enter a few months before, you start getting this on the chart, very similar. And then you see once it enters price discovery, you start getting these crazy prices again. So December's around here on the chart. So again, there's some correlation there to look at. So that's, starts to get interesting for me. And then obviously we had this crazy time in COVID, and we have to look at the economic conditions at the time. And we had very, very low interest rates happen after the fact. We had government stimulus. So that really fueled this market to see what we've seen back then. And again, Bitcoin, was going crazy as well. So let's fast forward to this cycle. So again, we have the same repeating pattern in Bitcoin. We have the bear market, and then we have the recovery, and then we have now we're in price discovery. So this happened around October this year, so very recent. We entered price discovery for Bitcoin, but then you see these vintage cards are still on a decline. So what does that tell me? It doesn't tell me that money isn't coming into Pokemon, because it is. And the reason I believe these assets are correlated is that many people that are in crypto or Bitcoin are also in trading cards. So a lot of that money or money they're up in profit might rotate into there. Or we could just see Pokemon in the spotlight and people just want to enter something a bit different, or they might have an interest in trading cards before, and that's where they want to put their money because they see an opportunity. So we can look at this vintage as we can ask the question, is it going to come back? Maybe not. Is it in a good buying zone? And you'd have to say it is, because we're way off the highs and we start to see a bit of a bottoming signal in the PSA 9 first edition Charizard. So we're just around, hovering around these lows. So, but then I have to ask myself, well, if the money's not going to vintage, where's the money going? So that's when I look at stuff like this. This is the bubble mu. So from Paldean Fates, we've seen a price spike recently. And then you see the correlation here. Obviously, there's no data to go back before the other cycles. So this is a very new card. But then you start to see where the money is going currently. So it's still flowing into Pokemon. It's still flowing into trading cards. But when we see price discovery here in October, and then we start to see here, well, in October, this card went from 290, and now we're at $500-600 USD, all within when Bitcoin went in price discovery. So I already identified that money is going to art. So we're in an art phase for Pokemon, and we can see that clearly with whatever beautiful arts, or you see certain artists that get a lot of attention, and you see that reflect in the price. And even a good example of the Van Gogh Pikachu, like there's plenty of PSA 10s, but the price continues to go up because the art's really nice and you got a popular Pokemon on it. So let's even look at one of the most famous cards in Sword of Shield, or if not the most expensive one there, the Moonbryon from Evolving Skies, continuing its run. And you also see this card just on a massive uptrend. And around that October time is when it went up again. So again, correlation, and you can see this last pump here. So we can even go look at that. So again, these charts are just all sales. That's what all these lines are made up of. So don't take notice of these wicks because they're just anomalies that haven't been deleted. But if you look at here, we're in January 2024. So let's look back here at what Bitcoin was doing around January. We had a huge pump. Or basically it's all-time highs around this time when the Moonbryon was pumping. So again, when you have big green candles like this, and then you see a very popular card at the time pump even more, even though I think that the valuations are absurd and we're just in that kind of climate right now, which is, look, I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to think that it's uh, something that should be going on, but it is what's happening, and that's how I have to see it. So I'm just going to take what opportunities I can with the knowledge I have and use the tools at my disposal, such as this, to make better decisions. And so how would I use that? So if I know charts and I'm in Bitcoin and I think there's a correlation, well, again, I see a cyclical pattern with Bitcoin. It has its run up, it has its bear market, and then it goes up again. So again, peaks, bear market, recovery, and then peak again. And you've got the price discovery that I'm pointing out here. And now we've got that again. So we've got the peak, we've got the lows, we've got the recovery, and now we're in price discovery again. So that's repeating, and I can see it on the charts. And now I've identified that, okay, well, it's no longer in vintage. Now the money's pouring into, modern cards with nice art. And we can see the vintage stuff here. Like I'll put up a couple of more cards. You got Mewtwo PSA 10 from Neo Destiny. This is just the unlimited version. And you can see the same sort of pattern. So we start here. This is the first cycle I showed you. And then you see that run up as well. So almost double in price, and then just go basically flat until the next Bitcoin bull run. And it's just crazy because that's where the attention was. You know, whatever if Logan Paul had anything to do with it, whatever, it was perfect timing. But we can see that the correlation between this asset and this asset is apparent in the chart. And now we can see that this time around that no one really cares about vintage. But this card is showing bottoming signals. You know, we've bottomed here and we're starting to recover a little bit. But I still don't see the money coming to vintage right now. But if you do believe it will come back, I think it's getting a bit late. You know, I myself was looking at this and I haven't seen it happen yet. So I don't know if it will happen this run because you see modern stuff's just way too strong and all the money's going in there. We see prismatic pre-orders just going absolutely nuts. We've seen surging sparks, double, triple in price. You know, this is the craziness that's going on. But that tells me that the money is going to the more modern things. So yeah, this is another card too, the Charizard, Shining Charizard, sorry, from Neo Destiny as well, Unlimited, and same thing, exactly the same run. So it doesn't matter what cards you pick, as long as you can categorize them, you know, in vintage or modern or what the art is. You know, if it's a popular Pokemon, good art, that's where the money's going right now. I invest in sealed. I don't really touch single cards because if a card in that set does well, then the whole box captures that value. So I like to invest in sealed. But yeah, this is still good data to look at, and you just see where the money's flowing now compared to where, as before, you know, it was all in vintage, and now you see that shift, and this is how you can pinpoint where the money's going, and you can kind of see it before it happens. So that's all I want to point out today. I won't keep going too long, but if you want to learn this stuff more in depth, I'm going to go into charts more and correlations like this more in the Discord for Discord members. So if you're interested in that, come check it out. I'll leave it there today. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one.